Hello, everybody, it's Tim here again. Here another movie review. This time for the movie Green Book, directed by Peter Farrelly. Peter Farrelly, I mean. Now, what's interesting is this is a movie pretty much about. It's a true story, pretty much about racism from back in the day, and a friendship between a white guy and a black guy, and how their friendship grows. Well, an Italian guy, and how their friendship grows back in in the big racist period of the country. What's interesting about this is directed by Peter Farrelly. Now, if you don't know who Peter Farrelly is, or Farley, it's like Peter and Bobby Farley are responsible for the comedy flicks of like Something About Mary, Kingpin, and all that. So it's like, what the hell is he doing directing this? That's what my thought was. I watched this film after it was over. I read the directed by, and I was like, what the hell? Maybe he's trying to branch out and do some different stuff. That's cool. I think that's a good idea. All in all, just go ahead and say it. This is a 4-star out of 4 film. This is a terrific movie. It's a masterpiece. It's the best film I have seen thus far of this year, 2019. This is a masterpiece of a film. I highly recommend it. It's based on a true story. You got it stars Viggo Mortensen and Marshall Ali, I think, is the actor's name, who plays the black friend. And you got Viggo Mortensen as the Italian guy, and it's pretty much about them bonding in the movie because he gets hired to be his driver. I'll say this: Viggo Mortensen did a great job here, but Marshall Ali, he steals the show. His performance here is amazing, honestly. And this is the first time I've seen this dude. His performance in this film is amazing. He is the best part of the film, in my opinion, acting-wise. Pretty much, and you got this Italian guy who's kind of like this semi kind of gangster dude. He doesn't really like doing the gangster type stuff, but he does it anyway because it's what he's good at, and he needs the money because this dude's poor. So I'm actually get people like me who's going to relate to him because I'm poor. I'm not rich by any means. And then you got Marshall Ali, who's like this really rich dude or whatever, who's really prim, sophisticated, and proper. And they're two totally different guys of race and power class. And it's just them having to interact together. And the other interesting thing is that they play up how Viggo Mortensen's character is racist, and his friends are racist, and you kind of get the idea that his friends encourage him to be racist himself, and that he probably wouldn't be this way if it wasn't for the influence of his buddies. But there's like 2 black guys like drinking out of his glasses at home because they had to show up and repair some stuff, and he like walks in there after they're done, takes the glasses and like throws them in the trash. Yeah, so, I like that. They show that the character is, an asshole. And he has to learn from something, character point A to point B, character growth. And I like that. And so he needs the money really bad because his place where he works at gets shut down. And so he has to go and be this guy's driver. And you meet this guy, and he's like really prim, sophisticated, and proper, and he's kind of uppity, and to the point where he is also annoying himself. But through the movie, you learn, more about each one of them and how they complement each other, and just their interactions with each other. You just grow to love both of them. So you just end up, rooting for both of them to be together. Through the movie, you get it's like going down south. This guy's like a famous musician, and he wants to go down south, and he's an expert at playing the piano. Very wonderful, like piano playing, musical scenes in the film. And you get to see like the sides of racism and stuff, like back in the day in the country, like where they stop at places and they'll let him play there. They want him there to play there so they can seem sophisticated and classy. But at the same time, they're not going to treat him like the white folk. No. God forbid he gets to play there, but he doesn't get to use the regular bathroom. Instead, he has to go out to some shitty outhouse out in the middle of the woods. And so racism amazes me, how somebody can like look down on somebody because of the color of their skin. Whether it's a racist black guy or a racist white guy, how they can look down on somebody because of the color of their skin. Or racist any guy, really. It doesn't matter who it is. Racist any person. I'm gender neutral. It's racism in general. It just dumbfounds me how anybody could treat another person that way because of the color of their skin. It's mind-blowing to me how sick in the head some people can be to do something like that. But, so, they're traveling across country and they get into different predicaments. Some problems with the film, like one thing where, there's like one part of the movie where he goes down to this pool place to like, help him out, and he's down there handcuffed by these cops. He's there with this white guy, and the way that these two police who have arrested him or whatever have got him insinuate is that he was like, I think they're trying to say that that the character's gay, and that he was fooling around with this white dude. And later on, and I mean, after the incident, he's like, I didn't think you'd want to be here for this, because he's like, I told you to tell me whenever you go somewhere, and insinuating that they were, sleeping together or something. And at least that's the way I took it. I mean, am I wrong? The reason I feel like I may have missed something is because they like never bring this up again in the movie. Maybe it was just there to be hinted at for people to know. I don't know if the real life dude was gay, but he mentions earlier in the film that he had a wife. So I'm like, is he bisexual? I mean, what are they trying to say there? I mean, I'm not for sure here what's going on, or am I just reading too much into it? And was it just like getting in a fight with a white dude? Because that's not the way it made it come off. But anyway, and they get pulled over by these cops, and this police officer, this racist douchebag, is like insulting Viggo Mortensen from having to drive around a black guy or whatever, and he's like, oh, you're Italian, that explains it. You're half nigger. And then Viggo Mortensen punches him in the face, and of course Marshall Ali gets on to him like, I get called that word all the time. You couldn't take it for one night so we could be at this performance on time. And he of course gets him out of there because he's got connections. Lieutenant Governor pretty much calls and tells him to let him the hell out. But I'll be honest, I was rooting for Viggo Mortensen to punch the dude. I was. So Marshall Ali would probably have yelled at me too. But, yeah, and then you get to the end. Of course, they got all these really funny bonding scenes along in the movie, like, to the end, to the climax, because it's like a road trip movie. And they got this hilarious scene where they're like, Viggo Mortensen is trying to get Marshall Ali to eat like fried chicken or whatever, and he's like, come on, this is like your people's national food, try some friggin' chicken. But he's like real prim and proper, sophisticated. He doesn't want to eat, foods like that. But of course, when he eats it, he loves it so much, he just wants it all the time. So it's neat how they play off each other, from like, he teaches Viggo Mortensen how to be more romantic with his wife and how to write better and stuff like that for her, in terms of like love letters and all that he's sending her back while he's having to drive him across country, and he's actually writing them for him, to the point where eventually he starts picking up a few of the traits and starts wanting to write them himself. Viggo Mortensen does, and that kind of stuff is just really sweet, and the actors just play off each other like extremely well. Like, you can tell you got two really good actors here that are playing off each other extremely well. And by the end of the movie, when they finally get to their destination and everything's taken care of, Marshall Ali finally stands up for himself and refuses to play at this big concert place at the end because they won't allow him to eat there. He can play there, but they won't allow him to eat there. So, they're still being racist. And I like it when the dude try to offers Viggo Mortensen money, like, come on, if you weren't able to be bought out, you wouldn't be driving this guy. I mean, let's be honest. And so Viggo Mortensen grabs him, pins him up against the wall. I was always going to kick his ass. And Marshall Ali's like, I'll tell you what, I'll play depending on what you think. He's talking to Viggo Mortensen. He's like, nah, and they just leave. I love that. And while the dude's screaming or whatever, that was really cool. And it gets to the end, and he goes to drop Viggo Mortensen off, and Viggo Mortensen's like, why don't you come up for Christmas dinner and all that? And he goes, and he decides not to, because he's this really lonely, keeps to himself kind of guy, and he has a breakdown in the middle of the movie, because Viggo Mortensen and him are arguing about stuff, and Viggo Mortensen's like, come on, man, I'm more black than you are. And he starts yelling at him about how horrible his life is. He's like, I'm not man enough, to be with my own people, or part of my people, or I don't feel, 100% connected to them and all that, and I'm not white enough to be with you guys. So, he's stuck between a rock and a hard place, and that's what lets Viggo Mortensen understand more of who this guy is as a person and where he's coming from. But he goes back to Marshall Ali's place, and he, it's real lonely, nothing there. This is obviously a guy who just doesn't have, he has all kinds of culture stuff and all that. He's smart and sophisticated and witty, but he's lonely. He has nobody. And so this is his only friend. And so he goes to Viggo Mortensen's place at the end, and they all welcome him in there with open arms. Yes, it's a feel-good movie, and some people might say that's cheesy, but as horrible as the world gets sometimes, it's okay to have a feel-good movie every now and then. And it doesn't come off as cheesy to me personally, because the actors do such a good job that it didn't bother me. And it just ends on a really heartwarming note of explaining how these guys were friends for pretty much ever and died just months apart in 2013, I believe. From the credit scroll at the end of it. And just really heartwarming. Just a really, by the end, a really heartwarming film. Almost a family flick in a way. But yeah, a masterpiece of a great drama. I highly recommend this film. It deserved to win Best Picture. Out of everything I've seen that was nominated for Best Picture, this deserved to win. This is better than BlacKkKlansman. It is. It's a better executed movie. There are two different types of subject matter. Well, similar in the fact that it's about race, but the different types of stuff that they're talking about. I mean, the ways they go about it, I should say, are totally different. And this winds up being more of like a family flick. Whereas BlacKkKlansman was trying to tap into like the real dark seediness of the, racists and stuff like that. So this film is better executed for what it is, though. So yeah, all in all, this deserved to win Best Picture. So I'll see you guys again with the next review.